You're listening to Change Your POV podcast, episode 45. Listen. I am not going to tell you that PTSD is not a real deal. It is. There are symptoms that I deal with all the time, and I'm not going to get into that right now because that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is this, folks. At the end of the day, there will come a point where you will just run out of PTSD hooks to hang your hat on. You just will.
Welcome to Change Your POV podcast, helping you navigate transitions in your life like entering and exiting college or the military, changing jobs or careers, and providing you with the coaching and mentorship needed to help you advance in your personal or professional life. Sometimes all you need is to change your point of view. Now, here's your host, Eddie Lazary.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Change Your POV podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Lazary, and this week I am joined by Bennett Tanton, and we are here to talk about currently serving military. This is the fourth part in a five-part series. Let me just give you a real quick recap. If you want to go and check out the first of this five-part series, you can go to episode 39, where we talk about the I Love Me book. Episode 41, we talk about education. Episode 43, social media and networking. This week, episode 45, we're going to be talking about preparing to separate. And then next week will be the final episode in this five-part series where we'll talk about expectations. That should be a good one. How you doing, Ben?
All right, man. You?
I'm doing fantastic. Before we get going, I would like to have a quick thanks to this week's sponsor, Audible.com. Audible.com has over 180,000 titles to choose from in their library. Everything from, you can even get magazines, newspapers, training, articles, books, novels of all types of genres. I am currently listening to the new book by Gary Vaynerchuk called Ask Gary V. And you just completed, what was that book?
The New Confessions of a Economic Hitman. And I am listening now to The School of Greatness from Lewis Howes.
Nice. Both of those are extremely good books. I have not yet listened to either of those, but I am like one book behind you. You just got done listening to Gary V.
Yeah.
And so my next one will be the Confessions of a, what was it called again?
The New Confessions of an Economic Hitman. He wrote the original back in 2004. This one was just released this year. So it's all updated. So these got all kinds of new information between 2004 and 2016. So it's very good.
All right. So if you want to check out any of those books that we just talked about, or if you want to check out one of your own books, you can head on over to changeyourpov.com/free book. Again, changeyourpov.com/free book for your free 30-day trial and a free audio download. All right, man. Currently serving military are going to be interested in this week's episode where we talk about preparing to separate. Now, I gotta say this up front. There's going to be a lot of good information we're going to put out in the next 30 minutes or so, but this is not an all-inclusive list. There are hundreds, literally probably thousands of things that you could do or should do to help prepare yourself for a successful migration or evolution out of the military. And of course, every situation is going to vary. Your life situation, whether you're married, single, whether you have kids or not, where you're going to live, what work you're going to do when you get out. Are you going to have education? Do you already have education? There's so many variables. This is really just to kind of get your wheels spinning a little bit, because when I was getting ready to get out, I didn't consider anything, right? So if we were to recommend one thing, and that's it, and we call this a 5-minute podcast, then that one thing would have been 100% more than I got when I was getting out. So With that said, you got out, Bennett, of the Marine Corps and then went back into the Army and then got out of the Army. So you kind of had two exits.
Yep.
I got out of the Army just once. So we've been through it. We know kind of a little bit about kind of the process. The Army, well, let's just say the military in general typically moves rather slow. So the process that we went through when we got out probably isn't a whole lot different. And there might be different services we'll talk about that may be different than when we got out. There might be, you know, different microcosm type things that are different, but the basis of how to prepare to get out is pretty much the same. So with that, do you have anything you want to lead off with in this discussion, Bennett?
Yeah, don't get out.
Don't get out. I just
I'm
did
just
it.
laughing. I mean, it's not, it's a decision that I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen listening, do not take it lightly because I guarantee you, especially if you're married, it'll be a shock. I mean, you just really, really, really heed the advice that we take. And if you really need help, just reach out to us or somebody else that knows what the hell they're talking about. Because the guys that are teaching TAPS class, unfortunately, I want you to think about this. Unfortunately, those guys have never been civilians other than when they were 18.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, there's some good programs going on now, so they might bring some people in. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you've got people telling you how to be civilians that have never been civilians.
Right. Or, if it's like a lot of different mandatory classes that I attended in the military, it's going to be some, man or woman that's being paid at a what is it, a
Yeah,
GS9
like a
level or
GS,
something.
probably like a GS 5 or 6.
Yeah, like GS5 or 6, they're punching a clock. Now again, I'm making some generalizations here. If you are a person, you're listening to this and you are somebody that gives TAPS classes and you're not this person, I apologize. But come on, let's let's
Well, then,
let's be
then,
real
then
here.
get a hold of us and let us know who you are and where you're at.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I've talked to enough veterans now that have gone through that TAPS class where they basically say there was very little value. They got nothing out of it. They blew through the material. The person that was given the course just kind of gave them the literature and said, "This is it. Read through it. Have a nice day. Check the box. Signed your clearing papers or whatever the case may be." And again, like anything, you get as much out of it as you put into it. So if you just sit in the class and text your friends or surf Facebook the whole time, the instructor, no matter how good the instructor may be, you're not going to get anything out of the class.
Right.
The first thing that I just have to throw the gauntlet down here, Bennett, and just say this. And I'm gonna speak some hard truths this episode. I'm feeling a little salty, man. I don't know if it's just the bullshit I'm reading on Facebook or what, but I'm just gonna throw out a few things here. And you know what? If I'm completely off kilter, then please, leave me some comments, or go send me an email or get a hold of me somehow. That's very easy to do, and let me know I'm completely off base. But unless somebody reaches out and tells me that, I'm just gonna assume that I'm not. All right. So the first thing that I'm gonna say that might kind of get some of your feathers in a ruffle is this: you and only you are responsible for your own transition. Let me say it again: you and only you are responsible for your own transition, whether it's a successful one or a failure. You can't blame it on your recruiter. You can't blame it on your first sergeant. You can't blame it on the person that did or did not teach a good TAPS class. You can't blame it on your in laws. You can't blame it on your wife or your husband or your kids. You can't blame it on the fact that you've been through, 6 deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan. You can't blame your PTSD. You can't blame anything but your own self's ability to prepare or it in a position to be prepared enough to exit the military. That's it. You put all those cards back in your pocket, pull them out for later if you have to on something else. But whether or not you're prepared to exit the military is on you. Period. Would you agree or disagree
I
on that, Bennett?
completely agree. It's on no one but you. And I'll add caveat to that. It's also on your spouse
Yep.
if you're married. Because this is a two-way street here, folks, and it's going to affect your spouse just as much. So they need
Mm-hmm.
to know what's going on too, not just, everything's going to be hunky dory because I'm going to get a job as a cop when I get out, or I'm going to get a job as, with the government or an FBI agent or whatever. Because guess
Mm-hmm.
what, folks? Unless you have that job before you get out,
Mm.
I'm
There's
telling
no
you, there's no
guarantees.
guarantees.
No,
Trust me.
absolutely
You're
not.
talking to a guy who's transitioned twice. The second time, I made sure I had a really good job before I got out. But at the very
Mm-hmm.
end of that whole thing, too, I got out in May. I didn't start that job until September.
Right. So there's a
So,
buffer
hello.
period. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yep.
nothing works out the way it's supposed to. Murphy will kick you in the nuts just like he did when you were in the military. How many of you have planned for freaking missions, training, or combat, and it never, ever, ever goes off the way it's supposed to, right? Same
Right.
shit. Same shit when you get out.
Yes. Let's talk about how much greener the grass is, though, when you get out, right? Because so seriously, when you're in, right, there is no grass. It's all just sand. You got it. You got it in your ass crack. You've got it down your boots, your socks, right? It's just shitty, and all you can see is your DD-214 on the horizon, and it's nothing but tequila and little cocktails with the little umbrellas, right? And just chilling on the beach. You're a free man, a free woman. You got nobody to answer to anymore. You don't have to put that damn uniform on anymore. The grass is just, I mean, it's so thick and luscious, and just you could roll around in it, and it's just awesome, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Reality check, folks. I can tell you firsthand, and everyone that I not a lot of people, everyone that I've talked to that has gotten out, all echoes the same thing, and this is it. It wasn't as glamorous as they thought it was. It wasn't as easy as they thought it was, and many, if not all, even for a split second, thought about, man, it would be easier if I just went back in,
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely. Because because all of a sudden you're in charge of your life.
That's right.
People
You got
people
no,
might
yeah,
think that they're in charge of their life when you're in the military, but tell me, on a daily basis, you know when you have to go to work, you know when you're
yep,
doing PT, you know when it's time to eat chow, you know when it's time to get off of work, and then you start it over every single day. If you live in the barracks, it's even easier. But
yeah,
if you're married and you're out, still, regardless, what the expectations are simple, and you just have to abide by them, and guess what, you get paid.
yeah.
You get free medical, well, not free because you're earning it, medical, dental, food, BAS, BAQ, whatever the hell they call it now.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get out into the real world, guess what, man, that's it.
That's
You
right.
are on your own. I mean, there's still kind of the expectation when you're at work, if you have a job, but it's still different. Nobody's going to tell you to wash your ass or press your uniform or anything like that. I mean, it sounds so simple, but yet guys find it hard. Guys and gals find it hard every single day.
Yeah. I mean, you're in the military, right? I mean, let's break it down. You're in the military. You got surprise urinalysis to make sure that you're not doing drugs, right? You've got barracks inspections to make sure you're living correctly. Hell, I lived off post, and my supervisor still came by to my place when I lived off post and did a health and welfare check and made sure I had food in the refrigerator for my kids. I mean, and then they're telling me when to be to work, and if I don't show up, I've got 15 people calling me. I got people coming to the house, dragging me to work if that's what it takes, right? I got people that are telling me that I'm out of shape because there's a minimum requirement that I got to meet in an AFP. There's people that tell me that I'm a fat ass and I need to lose weight because they're putting a damn tape measure around my gut every 6 months. I mean, they're telling me to go to the dentist and get my shit taken care of.
I mean, they make the
Listen,
freaking appointment, for Christ's sake.
they do. They absolutely do. And when you get out, you don't have anybody doing any of that for you. So if you want your damn teeth to fall out of your head because you just refuse to go to the dentist, guess what? That's exactly what's going to happen. And I'm telling you, folks, right? No one is going to give a shit. No one is going to give a shit if you don't show up
It's
to
not
work. They're just
destruction
going
of
to fire
government
you.
property anymore.
That's right. That's right.
Nobody cares.
You don't want to go to work? Fine, don't go to work. But don't expect a job, right? If you don't want to pay the bills, fine, don't pay the bills. But guess what? You're going to lose your house.
This is what I have. This is what I tell my kids all the time. And I'm going to tell all of you. You can do whatever you want in life. Whatever. You can do whatever you want. But you have to face the consequences for those actions. Period.
Okay. Okay, so hold on. Before you go any further, part of what got me so damn randy this evening is I just read a Facebook post on a military site, and it said, and I won't leave the group's name or the person or anything like that, but they said this person knows a person, right? I mean, because that's how all stories go, right? Whenever some shit's going down, it's never I did this, or it's always somebody I know or a friend of mine, right? That's how it is. So a friend of a friend, right, got out of the military and got a job and got into an argument with their boss and cussed their boss out, and I mean, pretty vulgar, got pretty kind of carried away. And guess what? That person was fired. And now they're asking on the Facebook group, because that person was a veteran and they had PTSD, is there legal recourse where they can go and hire a lawyer and say that, I was unjustly fired because I blew up at my supervisor, but I blew up because it's a condition of my PTSD. Listen, 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 listen. I am not going to tell you that PTSD is not a real deal. It is. There are symptoms that I deal with all the time. And I'm not going to get into that right now because that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is this, folks. At the end of the day, there will come a point where you will just run out of PTSD hooks to hang your hat on. You just will, okay? Because, your boss isn't going to really give a shit, right? The things that you're doing out, investors, if you want to start your own business, right? There comes a limit, right? If you know you have PTSD and you think that there's probably a chance that your symptoms are going to get in the way of your successful employment or whatever, you know what? Guess what? It's your responsibility to go seek some help, get some help, figure out what it is, right? But if you have PTSD, guess what? It's yours. Own it. My driver, Luke Herbst, came on my show. He was actually episode number 2. And he came on and he talked about his struggles with PTSD and how he finally just said, you know what? My actions have consequences and it's up to me. My PTSD is mine and I'm going to own it. And I'm telling you right now, all right? I'm going to say it again. You are going to run out of PTSD hooks to hang your hat on. It's just like those damn stress cards that they came out with a number of years back when you went to basic training. If you started to feel a little stressed out, you just pull a little stress card out of your pocket and show it to your drill instructor, right? So that if they got shown that card, they had to back down. That didn't last very long because people got fed up with the bullshit. And guess what? People are getting fed up with the PTSD bullshit too.
Yeah. Don't be a fucking victim.
That's right.
And yeah, I'll drop the F-bomb all day. Don't be a victim. All right? You're a veteran. Or the guys and gals speaking or listening, if you're not a veteran, then you're a military member. Are you a victim? Do you look at yourself as a victim? Because if you identify yourself as a victim or a disabled veteran, trust me, I'm a disabled veteran, but I don't let that rule the way that I do life. I mean, I'm diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, all right? And I go out and I help veterans with the same issues every single day. I get triggered daily. And it's not because of, whatever. It's because that's my work. But guess what? I still get up every morning and I go. Do I drink too much at night? Probably a lot of nights. But guess what? That's reality. But you're not a victim. Own it. Own it and make it better. Deal with it the way you have to deal with it. Don't destroy yourself. Don't destroy your family. Don't flush your freaking future down the tubes just because you're hooked on to some thing or some mentality that you're a victim. Knock it off. Knock it off now. Don't even go down that rabbit hole. That's, I guess, what I have to say on that.
That's a good one. And you know what? And being a victim goes along with other things other than just PTSD, and that's this. I'm telling you here, this is the God's honest truth, folks. If you want a good job, if you want not just a good job, if you want a job, getting out when you get out of the military, it starts while you're in. You have to start, and we already did an episode about social media and
Yeah, the
networking
last
in
episode
episode
teach you a
43.
lot.
Yeah. But you know what? Go back and listen to that. You have to start building your network now because you get a job based off of who you know and who knows
Is
you.
guess what? If you're not ready, now that you're listening to us, if you're not ready, go reenlist. Go see the
That's right.
reenlistment guy right now.
Yep.
Because seriously, it's not rainbows and fucking unicorns here, folks. It's
Mm-mm.
not. I mean, if
And
you're one of the lucky ones that's got the hookup before you even get out, more power to you. But at the
oh well, we got if you listen to uh, Tuesday's episode this week, episode 44, I speak with my cousin Brian Dunaway. He spent 5.5 years in the Navy. He actually had a job lined up, got out of the Navy, called the dude up, and the dude wouldn't return his phone calls. Like he was stuck. He was living back home with his mom.
oh,
He had a
dude,
he had a wife and a 6-month-old baby, and he couldn't figure out how to get a hold of this guy, and finally gets hold of him, ends up taking him out on the job site, and ends up totally screwing him over on the wages that they had agreed upon.
oh man,
Yeah, I mean, so even if you have a job lined up, listen, nothing's guaranteed in this world. And let me tell you something. Um, One of the things that I kind of took for granted when I was in the military is honor, right? When I spoke with my platoon sergeant or my platoon leader or my first sergeant or sergeant major, and any one of those. Now, granted, people are people. Not everybody is everybody's human. They're going to make mistakes, but for the most part, if I was speaking to somebody in uniform, I had at least some level of trust and confidence that what they were telling me was good and true. And if they said something, I believed it. But let me tell you, I get out of the military, and all of a sudden, like I really experience what real dishonesty, people that are shady, people that had no sense of honor, people that had no sense of loyalty. Let me tell you, folks, what a wake up call!
and
Because
that's not to say that there's civilians that don't have honor
oh,
by a stretch of
absolutely,
the imagination.
right, right, right.
But this is just a point that I've touched on in other places and other times. The military, for the most part, is a honor-based system.
Right.
You are a product of that honor-based system. So more than likely, that is the way that you think, right?
Hmm.
Unfortunately, the way that the real world out in the real world works, it's a pride-based system. It's not an
Right.
honor-based system. So there's a lot of I's, there's no we's. So you
Mhm.
have to understand that that's what you're coming into. And you're always going to hear, well, they don't understand us because they don't. Because Eddie coined a little phrase here. You're never going to be a civilian again.
Right. Never, ever,
Ever,
ever, ever,
ever.
ever, ever,
Right.
ever.
You
That's
are
right.
a veteran from now on. That's it.
Yep.
Don't shades of civilianness. I'm not. That's probably not 100% true, but
Hmm.
uh, I've a veteran's still a veteran. You think differently. It's been
Yep.
ingrained in you at this point.
Right.
So that doesn't mean that civilians are bad or that it's a big bad evil world. It's just different. Get used to it.
And I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna just basically say it right now. 12 months. You need 12 months of starting to and being prepared enough to get out. Okay. And people say, oh, well, I don't need 12 months. All I need is, a month or 2 months. Listen, it takes 10 months to make a baby, right? I mean, it takes time. I mean, you don't just get pregnant and then, 30 days later you pop out a human, right?
Boom. Right.
You're talking about the rest of your life, okay? This is not just something that just happens. you have to be prepared for the rest of your life, and you need some runway. Okay, you don't have that high speed F-35. It just takes off vertically and just it can just take off, right? You need some runway to get going. You need time to network. You need time to get your affairs in order. You need time
To just
to find.
decompress.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You need a plan and you need time to get there. All right. There's some things that, and I'm going to go through a list of things here that you need to probably think about. Um, I don't know about you, Bennett, but it
Oh,
seems
the
like,
last thing I want to say is though, and here's the other thing, folks. Yes, you're a veteran. You've done and seen some shit and done things for this country and given, blood for it. At the end of the day, though, nobody owes you shit.
that's right. Oh, man. We could end the podcast right then. Right now, it could be over. No one owes you anything. All right. I don't care. Yeah, you're a veteran. You've got your Bronze Star. You've got your Silver Star. You got you know, your Meritorious Service Medal. You have your
Yeah,
bling,
right.
your Combat Action
Suck it
Badge.
up,
Your
Buttercup.
right.
Nobody owes you shit.
Right. You have all of that. You know what you get? Here's what you're owed. If you get out with an honorable discharge, you are owed the privilege of wearing this nation's cloth on your casket when you die.
Right.
That's what's owed you. That's it.
The only thing that otherwise
That's
that
it.
may be owed you is if you were injured in the line of duty, go get your VA benefits. But
Right.
anyway,
Absolutely.
so at the end of
Yeah.
the day, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I guess, and there we go. At the end of the day, that's about all that you're owed is for your nation to be able to take care of you medically and take care of, if you're injured and you rate disability, go get it.
Hmm. Right.
But don't look at an employer and say that they owe you a fucking job because they don't.
Well, not just owe you a job. I know guys that were non-commissioned officers. They got out, they got a job, and they threw a tissy fit because they weren't given a manager's
Right,
position.
right. No,
They're
that's what
like
I'm
they're like
saying. Yeah.
they're like this is bullshit. I led 12 guys. I was a platoon sergeant. I went to combat. I did. I'm too good for an entry level position. I'm too good to be just an individual contributor at this company. I wanted to come
And
in
even though that
starting.
might be true,
It might be.
it might be true, but here's the point. They don't give a shit.
They
They
don't
don't.
give a
So
shit,
just
and they
get it.
don't owe you.
No, they just just get it through your head. They don't
They don't
care.
owe you shit.
They
They
don't
don't
care.
care, and they don't owe you. They don't owe you because you were a kick-ass, stellar, you know, lieutenant, captain, major.
Right.
I
I
mean,
mean,
and the guy I'm talking about was a
leave your ego at the door because
the guy.
they
The
really don't
guy I'm.
care.
Oh no, they don't. The guy I'm talking about was a major. It was a major, okay? He got out of the army, active duty, got into this company, and they did not put him into a manager's role, and he was pissed. And you know what? Maybe I get it. I mean, he was like
Yeah,
in
I
charge
mean,
of
get
the
millions of dollars
battalion,
worth of stuff and
battalions. Yeah, I
the
get it.
battalion XO and yada yada yada. But
Right.
whatever. I mean, I feel for him and I understand. And trust me, I've been there, done that, got the
Hmm.
T-shirt. But again, I'm telling you from my experience, nobody gives a shit.
That's right. That's right.
So don't take it as like I don't give a shit. I do, but
Yeah, I do too.
at the
That's right.
but again, I, I I don't control that, and neither do you. They do.
No,
And
and
yes,
that's
I can
why.
use that phrase they because they don't give a shit.
Right. And the reason why I'm so tempered about this topic is because I generally give a shit enough to be able to at least give it to you straight, okay? Because there's enough people in this world that are gonna blow smoke up your
Just
ass
pussyfoot
and
around
and
everything.
and right and pat you on the back and tell you everything's gonna be all right, and then behind closed doors are conspiring against
Yeah.
you. I'm telling you right now, all right. I care enough about you to be completely honest and direct, and I'm telling you right now. And you know what? It'll be interesting. There'll be some of you that are active duty right now that are listening to this, and you're going to think that Ben and I are completely delusional. Just wait. Give it 8, 9, 10 months when you get out, and then give us a call and be
Right.
like,
I mean,
"Damn,
and
you
here's
guys are
the
right."
other thing. It's not like Eddie and I were just like, it's not like Eddie works for the government. I do now, but I didn't always. Trust me, I was in corporate America for 12 freaking years after I got out. And they eat their own there. Just so you know, I'm. I laugh, but I'm serious, man. They
Yeah.
do not care. I mean, you could be the most qualified person on the planet for a manager's position. They will hire their cousin
Yeah.
who just graduated from high school
Yep.
and has an
Yep.
associate's degree in underwater basket weaving before they hire you.
That's
So
right.
get used to it and do something about it. Either go start your own company or guess what? Make yourself even more attractive.
That was the
Make it so they can't say no.
That's the thing that, be honest with you, Bennett, the one thing that I struggle with the most in my evolution out of the military was I wanted to be judged on my merit. I wanted the company that I worked for, I wanted them to recognize me, promote me for the work that I did, the effort that I put in, the extra hours, the knowledge, the training, the skill sets. I wanted to be recognized for my worth and for my value. Why? Because I was when I was in the Army, right? I
Yes.
set myself aside. I made sure I
Well, it was
was
clear
I
cut
was
what you had to
it
do as
was.
well.
It was
That's
very
the other thing.
absolutely. And
There's
then,
no
but
cutting scores in the civilian world,
no,
guys.
there isn't. There isn't. And I started to realize that people around me started to get promoted ahead of me. They were given like extra special tasks and privileges and uh, uh, not authority, but responsibility is the word I'm looking
Right.
for. And I'm like, wait a minute, I know that job better than they do. Wait a minute, I know how to, I have real leadership skills and ability, and they don't. I have, I started to get really kind of upset to try to figure out what was it about this world, weird world that I lived in, and I finally figured it out. It was because that person that was getting promoted ahead of me, they spent more time rubbing elbows and getting in on
Kissing
uh,
ass.
yeah, we called it kissing ass and brown nosing, and that's looked down upon in the military. But let me tell you something. That is that's part of business in the corporate world. That's business. That's called networking. That's called positioning yourself. That's called being, career responsible. And it took me a long time, Bennett, to finally come to grips with, I was pissed. I went through all the stages of loss,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
I was
Absolutely.
angry. I was, hurtful. Depression, like all the stages of just all of those emotions, right? And then finally, I said, you know what? Corporate world and the real world, civilianhood is not going to change on my for my on my behalf, right? They're not going to change for my benefit. So if I want this to be different, then I have to be the one to change. And I'm not saying that I just finally caved and learned how to be a brown
But
noser.
there's a game you have to play.
There is a game. You have to learn how to absolutely, folks. And you know what? You don't have to agree with it and you don't have to think it's fair, but it doesn't make it any less true.
That
Okay?
is correct.
You have to learn to play the game because the game, it exists, it's real, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about the first time it faces you.
And as soon as you get to the spot where you can change it, do so. But
Yes.
that's what you have to do. If you want it to change, then you have to go change it. But
Hmm.
you're not gonna push the king off of the top of the, it's like playing king of the hill. You've
Right.
got to get up there and you have to do it. But
Yep.
to get there, you gotta have to play the game, folks.
So preparing to separate, man, we're already blew our time, but let me tell you, we'll go through a few things here. All right. Give yourself 12 months runway. Start with making copies of all of your records, your medical records, your dental records, your personnel files, right?
Oh, for
Because
Christ's sake, do it too. Seriously. Don't say you're
absolutely
gonna do it, do it.
no, do it because here's what happens. As soon as you get your transition papers where you got to go around and get all your stamps to clear and everything, I don't know how it happens, but it never fails. You go to the aid station or the medical department or wherever they keep your medical records, and you hand them over the little paper there where and guess what? They can't find your records.
Yeah.
Sorry, they're
Sorry, they're
lost.
lost.
Sorry, and there's nothing you could do. It's not like you can hold up your uh your ETS. I mean, you know what I mean? You can't say, "Oh, wait, time out. I'm not getting out of the military until I get my medical records." No. They still stamp that shit. You still get a pass. You just walk out without your medical records or your dental records or your personnel files. So find them now, make copies of them, because you know what? When you do get out, you're going to need them when you go to the VA. If you're going to, put in a claim or whatever the case may be, you need that information. So get a
Just makes
copy.
life easier.
It does. Make a copy of your shit.
Take it from someone that works at the VA.
Take it from someone who lost all of their shit.
Yes.
That was me.
Get it. Go get
Yep.
it. Go find it right now.
The good news is if you don't retire, like me, I did 10 years, so I didn't qualify for retirement, you are still eligible for full medical for up to, I think it's 2 years?
5 years.
5 years. All right, that's even better than
if
that.
you're a GWAT veteran,
right.
then you are eligible for up to 5 years of full medical. I'm not positive on the dental, but full medical from the VA.
But that's just you.
That's just you. It's not your family.
It's not your family. So if you got a wife and kids, your wife and kids immediately, as soon as you get your DD-214 in hand,
TRICARE's gone.
TRICARE's poof, no more. Your kid gets sick, guess what? You're paying out of pocket until you get a job that has insurance. That's just the way it is.
Or go buy Obamacare.
Or yeah, right.
Or sorry, the Affordable Care Act.
Oh, geez. Oh, my God. Okay, so network. Get your medical records. Give yourself a runway. Talk to people like us that have kind of gone through that. Ask questions. Ask specific questions. Don't be this generalized, so what did you do to prepare to get out? No, ask specific questions. Say, hey, I'm 6 months away from getting out of the military, and I'm thinking about moving from Fort Hood, Texas to, Pensacola, Florida.
Don't do it.
Don't
do it.
Here's one, and I think I mentioned it on a previous podcast episode. I don't remember which one, but home of record. Okay, so get this. My home of record, I joined the Army. I lived in Elko, Nevada, and if you've never heard of it, probably because it's really tiny. Elko, Nevada, it's northeast corner of Nevada. It's right outside of Salt Lake City, Boise, Idaho, in that area, right? So I joined the Army in Elko, Nevada, went through the MEP station in Salt Lake City, did all of that.
That's your home of record.
That's my home of record. But guess what? When I got out of the Army, I moved to New Hampshire. And New Hampshire is quite a bit further away from Fort Hood, Texas than Elko, Nevada was. But guess what?
They're only paying you to go to freaking home of record.
That's right. They only paid me to go to home and record. So whatever miles it was from Elko, Nevada to Fort Hood, Texas is all the miles I got paid for. That's right. So you do have the ability, though, to go and change your home of record. So if you know where you're going to move to when you get out of the Army
go do it now.
Whatever, the military, go change your home of record. At least that way you'll get paid for the full mileage when you get out. I mean, those are the little things I didn't know about. I didn't know that until I turned in my shit when I got done.
Yeah, you know how many guys that I run into all the time that have no idea that they can change their home of record?
Right. Well, they don't know it's a big deal. They don't know that
they don't realize
they should.
It, right? Absolutely.
No, I didn't until all of a sudden I think I ended up paying. I think the total trip cost like $3,500, and I had to pay like $1,700 out of pocket. And I'm like, I didn't have $1,700 to pay, but guess what? That's what I paid.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? And when you get out, there's no Army Emergency Relief organization that I can go and say, hey, I got screwed over here. Can you lend me $1,700 like interest free? It just doesn't exist, folks. So all of these awesome benefits that you have when you are in the military that you kind of learn to take advantage of, whether you use them or not, at least they're there and they are available if you need them. Those all go away for the most part. They go away when you get out. You do collect some benefits that you have that you're entitled to, and depending on your status when you get out, whether if you do your full 20 whatever years and you retire or whatever, you get different sets of benefits or whatever. But the bottom line is, I know guys and guys and gals that retired out of the military and they still are struggling.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I mean, guys they're retired and 100% disabled and are still struggling because they didn't have a financial plan. Mm-hmm. They were playing like they still had a paycheck every month. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And that's one of the biggest things for me is you got to have a financial plan. or else you're screwed.
Mm. Hmm. And I just interviewed somebody last night that everyone might like. That I'm looking. It's episode 54, so it's a little ways in the future. But he is the. If you want to go check him out now, in the meantime, it's kind of a little bit of a plug. The militarywallet.com, and he also owns
Yeah,
cashmoneylife.com.
yeah.
But head on over to the militarywallet.com and check out Ryan's stuff. And again, I interviewed him. His episode will be going live in episode 54, which is scheduled to come out. Let me look at my calendar. The 24th of next month. So May 24th is when that episode comes out. And we talk about what to do, in terms of getting financially ready and fit. And we talk about separation out of the military. I mean, we talked about all that. So put that on the calendar, folks. Go on over to changeyourpov.com and subscribe on iTunes and make sure you get that episode when it comes out, because that's going to be a good one. And Ryan agreed to come on whenever we needed to answer questions or even talk about something specifically. So great resource there, guys. He's got a lot of really, really good blog posts that talk about that. One of his most popular posts, he talked about he actually got out of the military and he wanted to get back in, and he had like a break in service, but he ended up having a knee surgery and he needed a medical waiver in order to get back in. And he did all kinds of research about that process and he couldn't find anything. So he figured it out on his own. It wasn't easy and it took him a long, long time. But he thought, you know what? If I'm struggling with this, I'm sure there's other people that are too. So he basically documented the entire process and created a blog post and I believe even a podcast about it. And it's one of his more popular ones because no one else has that information, and he captured it very in depth, very detailed blog post. So head on over and check that out. I didn't plan on plugging
Right,
him
but
this episode, but hey, it's about adding value
yeah,
to
it
the
is.
veteran.
And so, two other financial resources. I've always been a big fan of Dave Ramsey, and I'm not, it's not a plug. It's just if you get a chance, listen to his radio show, listen to his podcast, go get some books. He's got great advice on how to, and if you can do this before you get out, do it. The other thing, it's another book that I've read recently is Tony Robbins, Money, Master the Game. That is a fantastic book on basically how to, play the game to get rich.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fantastic book. The strategies are completely implemented. You're able to implement them fairly easily. And go check that out.
Awesome.
I would say that. And then the one other thing that I've got kind of rolling into education, and it's about kind of like with your records, get your VMET. If you guys don't know what that is, that's a verification of military experience and training. And it's a DD form 2586. If you have that on your own, get that on your own so you don't have to go back and get it. If you're planning on transitioning to go to school, use your GI Bill, use vocational rehab. Trust me, writing a resume, all that stuff. Get your DD form 2586, your VMAT, at least request it. Get a copy of it before you get out, because as long as you have a CAC card, you can access it. But once you don't,
what's a CAC card?
Common access card.
Okay.
Most military folks have them. You know what I mean? I think they all do now. DOD, the CAC card. Well,
yeah. So that kind of brings up a good point I didn't even think about. Everyone also has military email, right? Military email address. So folks, just trust me when I tell you this, okay? When you get out, there's more that you're going to end up taking off besides your uniform, okay? You're going to give up your ID card unless you're retiring. You're going to give up your CAT card. You're going to give up your military email address. All that's going to go away, okay? So if you've got a lot of contacts in your military email address, or you got leads to jobs or opportunities, or you got your education type thing, you know what? start moving or transferring those contacts and those important emails over to a personal email address, or download them somehow onto a flash drive somewhere where you can have access to them,
Oh shit.
because the military
Goes
is not going
away.
to,
Goes away.
it goes away. Poof. It's not like you're going to go, hey, 6 months down the road, say, hey, Mr. Uncle Sam, is there any way I can get access to my email address because there's some really important information and contacts that nope, poof, that shit's gone. It's gone, recycled. Okay. So just start to think about some of those things. Those are things that I didn't, they were just starting to give everybody email addresses when I got out. So I wasn't impacted by that. Same thing with the cat card. But I know a lot of guys now that they struggle with that. They network, they do a lot on their email, especially your officers and senior NCOs. A lot of work these days are now done, even in the military, are now done over email, and you're going to end up losing all that when you get out. So, good episode. Any other parting words there, Bennett?
I mean, I got a million, but
I know this is a topic
we
that
might
I
we
think
might have to
could
do
have gone.
another. We might have to do a whole nother episode, make it 6 parts, and do this episode like
Do
a
this.
second parter because there's so much more info. I just stuff that I'm sitting here writing down as I'm writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, okay. So do what? Keep that written down. Next week we will do the conclusion of preparing to separate, and then we'll do the sixth part, which is expectations, which we could throw a lot of some of this stuff into expectations as
that's
well.
true.
But with expectations, I really want to get into more into the weeds about what you can expect once you're out. Some of the horror stories that we've heard, I'd like to share on the show, and not to scare anybody, but I want people to realize that when they are going through that, it's important to know that they're not alone, right? They're not an anomaly. It's you're not that special to go through this shit. Many other folks have gone through a lot of the stuff that you're going to experience when you get out. So we kind of want to talk about that, just so when you find yourself there, you can be like, oh, just like when you do a sand table, a rock drill when you're in the military, and you run different scenarios. It's because when you're finally faced with that oh shit scenario, you can recall back to that rock drill that you had 3 days prior, and you can say, oh, we worked through this issue, we were told that this could happen, but now we know what to do and how to move forward. So that's really all it is. So the last episode, maybe I can change the name from expectations to the rock drill or the sand table once you get out.
The real deal.
And the real deal. And one last thing before I close down, I do want to give everyone a little bit. I debated whether or not to mention this on this episode or not, but I think I'm going to. I am in the middle right now of creating. I'm putting together a free email course, and it's called 7-Day Resume. And I'm not going to get into a whole lot of details for between now. I have a target launch date of May 1st. So I got some time between now and then, and you're going to hear more and more about it on more podcasts the closer we get to it. But it's going to be a 7-part training series. I'm going to deliver, once you sign up, I'm going to deliver you an email every day for 7 days. And each email is going to have, a video training with some swipe files and some infographics, some downloadables, some PDF files, really, really, really good information. So if you're interested in creating your own resume, a winning resume that's recruiter and hiring manager ready, then look out for 7-Day
real.
Resume. For real.
Demilitarized.
Yes.
And I can tell you,
Yes.
folks, it's the real deal. So
yeah, I've already done 2 videos. I've shared them with Bennett. He's given me some critiques and some feedback. But this is through my experience, my 12 years out of the Army, fighting, clawing, scratching, trying to figure out this thing we called life. It took me a long time, a lot of trial and error. After working several jobs in the corporate world, owning my own business, I worked through and finally got my MBA. I was, a manager. I've literally
and now you hire people. So
yeah, I literally sift through and have reviewed thousands of resumes. I've interviewed hundreds of people. I've talked with veterans and non-veterans. I know what hiring managers and recruiters are looking for in a resume. And you know what? I want to share it. I want to share it with you guys so you know. And the thing about it is you could either try to figure it out on your own, you're going to fail, or you could try to pay somebody, which is what I did and ended up with a crappy resume anyway. I wanted to be able to do it myself. I wanted to create my own resume, and I knew I could if I just had some basic information, right? But I didn't have it. And anytime you go to Google and you search that shit, you get overwhelmed. It's information overload, and it's so much information. But at the end of the day, most of that information leads to, oh well, just pay me a couple $100 and I will create one for you and all that. No, 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 no. I'm going to teach you how to create your own resume, and I'm going to teach you for free.
Yeah, it's not some cookie cutter template.
No, no. I'm going to get into the mechanics. Trust me, it is going to be one kick-ass training program. And the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm also putting it together to actually pitch to a local university to teach to college students in an actual course. So this is the legit stuff here, and I want to offer it to you folks for free. And again, my proposed launch date is May 1st. You will find out more as we go on. I'm also creating a specific Facebook group page specifically for anyone that signs up. You can go there and you can interact with me and with Bennett and with other members going through the program, so you can kind of share what you're doing, ask questions. It's going to be a legit way to actually do what you need to do to have a good resume. And when you get done with it, here's the fun part. Once you're finally done with it, you're going to know it's a good resume because you're going to understand everything there is to know about a resume. It's one thing to look at something and say, yeah, it looks nice, but is it good? I don't know. How do you know? Right? I'm going to teach you what it is that recruiters and hiring managers are looking for and why they're looking for it. And I'm going to teach you all kinds of tips and tricks and tools of the trade. I've definitely gone on too long for this just sneak peek preview, but just know that that's coming, and I look forward to having you there and to share it with as many people as you can. I really want to put all those resume companies out of business because I can't stand them.
Yeah, they're horrible.
Hell yeah. All right, man. That's all I have.
That's all I got.
Very cool. So this is a little bit longer, but that's cool. No big deal. And this is releasing tomorrow, so I'm going to get off the show. I'm going to do very little editing.
I don't think there is much to do. So
no, I don't think so. Very little editing, maybe a couple sentences at the beginning when I couldn't figure out how to talk. But other than that,
nothing big.
Yeah.
We're getting better all the time.
We are. And this definitely got a little didn't turn into a rant per se, but you know what, folks? You could tell I'm very passionate about this particular topic.
As am I.
Yeah. There's very few things that fire me up. This is one of them. So, all right, that's it, man. Never miss an episode. Well, let me back up. You can find all the show notes for this particular episode over at changeyourpov.com/episode 45. Never miss an episode. Hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. We have a lot more great content headed your way, and you can leave me an email at eddie@changeyourpov.com. I would love to hear from you. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Change Your POV podcast with Eddie Lazary. Check out more content by going to changeyourpov.com. And remember, your ability and willingness to change your point of view will open doors of opportunity.